What's going on, everybody? Hope you're all having a fantastic day today. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I have to go ahead and put this video together for Arc Raiders because I think that this community is outstanding. Don't get me wrong. I think they're absolutely amazing. It's really cool to see so many people getting together, doing some really awesome stuff within this game. But there's also a side to this community who is getting very overly protective of the PvE side of the experience and kind of talking down, or just basically bashing anyone who wants to partake in PvP. And although I am totally on the side of having a nice casual experience, especially in solos, it's a blast. What makes this game special still is the fact that it is a PvPvE shooter. And although it's awesome being able to group up with one another, I think that these criticisms are getting a bit too far, and I kind of want to share my opinion on why I think this way, throughout this whole video. But, of course, ladies and gentlemen, before I go and dive on deep, if you guys are interested in more content like this, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell. Post twice here, once at 8 a.m. Eastern Time and a second time at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And also, if you guys are interested in any of my live streams, I do stream Monday through Saturday over on Twitch starting at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And, of course, we go ahead and stream all different types of variety games. So, if you guys are interested in any of that content, you can find a link to that channel down in the description of this video. All right, so, ladies and gentlemen, as I stated, pretty much all over Reddit, Twitter, not everywhere, I should say, because I think a lot of these pages have been very friendly with Arc Raiders. As I stated in the beginning of this video, this community is freaking awesome. I'm not lying. This has probably been one of the best communities I've been a part of when it comes to online anything, especially Reddit. So it's been a pleasure to see, everybody interacting. But there's still a lot of people out there who really genuinely hate. And when I say hate, I mean hate anyone going ahead and partaking in PvP. Now, I get it. If you die, it's probably going to make you salty. You might, say a few bad things over your voice comms. It is what it is. But there are rants online of people that, it's not like a little moment they had where they're mad that they lost their loot. No, like, honestly, I'm worried that they might be coming for some necks. You know what I'm saying, bro? They might be trying to actually hound down these players who are PvPing with how pissed they are at a lot of these scenarios. And I've even seen people say that they have gone as far as refunding the game. Let me say this again. I've seen people go as far as saying they have refunded the game because someone killed them in a PvPvE experience. Guys, let me say something. It's all great and dandy that we can get along together, when it comes to solos. And a lot of people want to interact. A lot of people want to help one another out. But I'm telling you right now, this game would be so soulless and lifeless if we didn't have players who actually went around and PvP'd. I'll be real, even me myself, I don't really like PvPing that much. I don't. I like to get in, get my loot, get out, even maybe make some friends along the way. But even in between some of these sessions, I'll say, screw it, I'm just not going to turn on my mic. I'm going to feel bad a little bit for taking them down. But sometimes PvP has to be done to keep people on their toes. Let me tell you right now, if this game did not have that PvP element, or if this game did not have anyone who would go out of their way to try to get combat or take people down or steal their loot or backstab you, that is a whole section of emotions that just go right out the window. You know that tension you feel while you're creeping around on Arc Raiders? Do you know how your heart starts beating at insane rates as you're getting close to an extraction zone and you are just full on loot? You would feel none of that. I'm telling you right now, all of those emotions you are feeling would be irrelevant if this was a PvE only style of game. And instead of people creeping around trying to worry about the sounds they're making, because Arc isn't, all about that. You can pretty much run past the majority of the, the hornets and the wasps. A lot of the Arc, bots you can run around past. The biggest threats to movement and sound is truly the players, the other raiders. And as I stated, that wouldn't be something people were worried about if those other raiders had no reason to kill you or no reason to, want to take your loot. And this game would be nothing but a bunch of people sprinting around at full speed, breaching every single wall they could possibly find, looting very aggressively, charging around, no crouch walking, no regular walking, for those who don't know, especially for PC players. If you hit the V key, I don't know what it is on controller, your character will actually go to a walking pace, whether you're crouched or whether you're standing up, which is extraordinarily handy. You'll see me do it a lot in, a lot of different scenarios. But, nobody would be doing any of this stuff. That would not be needed because you don't have to worry about the players. The only threat would be Arc, which means that you could just charge around, get all the loot in the world. You can, get all the buildings. You can get all the best stuff. and move about your business. And that also defeats the purpose of a lot of these looting zones as well. It feels good to find good top tier loot, finding the best of the best in the game, finding really cool, pieces of equipment that can help you further build your base, further build cooler weapons, build up attachments. That is an adrenaline rush alone right there. But that wouldn't be a thing if everybody could just sprint at full force to the hottest zones and just get all the loot and leave. Nobody would care that much about the loot, Yeah, the bots are a challenge. But what makes this loot so special a lot of the time is the challenge of getting it. You know what I'm saying? In order to find that, you have to go through a bunch of Ark who are going to be defending a lot of these zones, and then the players inside that area as well. Guess what? They want that loot too. It's not like it's a PvE shooter where you open up a box and everybody in the lobby gets it. Everybody gets the same stuff. No. Only one person is coming out with that specific item in that area, and you best believe a lot of people are going to want that, right? And don't get me wrong, it is absolutely amazing when you go ahead and you speak out and everybody in the room is friendly and everybody could just sprint around at, max speeds and loot as much as they wanted. But still, that tension before entering that building would not be there. Everybody would just charge into the building, not say a word, not speak out at all, not feel like they need to make themselves known, and just loot everything because they know there's nobody out there who wants to kill them. The fact that players out there get a little bloodthirsty and, crave others' items is what brings that tension and, makes us, the players, have to actually try to cut that tension before we go into the looting zones. I don't know, man. A lot of people are really hating on the PvP aspect of this game, but I am a very strong believer. As much as I enjoy the casual nature of how these players are acting, I am a very strong believer that PvP is mandatory to make sure that the vibes of this game stay set. It has a set tone to it, because without that PvP nature, it just, as I stated, would just turn into another PvE shooter, which is nothing wrong with that. But, those type of PvE shooters don't carry the same emotions as an extraction shooter like this. And like I said, Embark did a good job at evolving the extraction shooter genre and kind of, changing the term to what they call it, an extraction adventure. Because it is an extraction adventure. It's way more casual than other extraction shooters and not as bloodthirsty. But it still carries those vibes because at the end of the day, if someone wants to PvP, they're still allowed to do such. And let's be real here, ladies and gentlemen. If the world that we're living in right here, right now, if the apocalypse just so happens to begin and everything just starts hitting the fan, do you genuinely think that everybody's going to be nice to one another? Do you genuinely think that if we can, start some type of civilization underground, like if this same exact scenario happened, right? And we're all forced underground and, we're still there. We're still humans. We still have, our emotions and our friendships and, maybe our families if, people have made it through all of this chaos underground. But do you genuinely believe that when everybody goes above ground, or the, select individuals, the raiders who have the nuts to go above ground and, get these resources, do you really think that they're all going to be friendly? Do you really think that every single group out there or individual out there is going to go up there and not knock someone out every now and then? And you got to keep in mind, in this game, you don't actually kill the individual. You knock them out because, again, they are your fellow raider, And you never know, you might even see them below ground. You might know these individuals, when they're unmasked, when you guys are in your home environment. But going above ground, do you genuinely think that a lot of people out there will really stay just nice about things? You really think that people out there won't try to take, what others have earned or gained or found throughout the world? Do you genuinely think that in the real world, I'm not talking about in-game, in the real world, do you really think that, us as humans won't get a little spicy? If this same situation was currently going on and you knew that someone had another item that you could benefit from a ton, you could bring in a crap ton of cash that could help you, it could help your family, it could get you all the riches in the world. Do you really think a lot of people out there wouldn't fold and end up harming, someone, again, of their same race? Because, again, it's basically humans versus Ark here. The robots are taking over and destroying everything. Do you really think someone would not harm another human? No, I highly doubt it. Again, a lot of people talk the talk, but until we are put into a situation like that, IRL, You know, a lot of people just can't really talk about it because those emotions haven't popped up in ourselves yet until it really happens. But I guarantee a lot of people out there would indeed fold and probably do some pretty wicked stuff above ground, you know, if the greed finally started settling in. But ladies and gentlemen, the moral of the story here is that PvP is needed in Arc Raiders. And I know I make a lot of content telling people, you know, be friendly and that this game is made for casual players. And if you go in as solo, like in my previous video, I was telling people, make yourself known, talk out loud before you enter, you know, buildings, and just try to be kind, keep your weapons away. And you will better the odds of finding friendly engagements, people who will actually work with you and help you quest and help you find things, and just generally being nice. I really do encourage casual players to give it a go, and it is very casual. As I stated, if I just do exactly what I said, speak out before entering, I can go multiple different sessions without getting any PvP whatsoever. But as I stated, at the same time, that is a little bit worrisome, because if people get a little too comfy like that, to the point where mics aren't even required, you don't have to talk out loud, you know, everybody just has like a gentleman's agreement that nobody shoots on sight, then a lot of the vibes of this game are going to go away. I'm just saying. And as much as a lot of us want this to be very casual and fun, that PvP nature, people betraying and doing douchebag stuff, yeah, it might suck. Yeah, it might be horrible, but that's what makes these games unique. Extraction campers, you know, people who will befriend you and then shoot you in the back of the head when you start getting into, you know, arc combat. You know, players who are just stalking around, not saying a word, you know, taking advantage of other players and, you know, catching them off guard. I've actually had multiple moments where I go into buildings because, again, like I said, I like to shake things up. I don't want to only befriend people. I want to, you know, be the chaos a little bit as well. But you know, a lot of the times I'll hear people in a building and they're interacting with each other, obviously solos. And I take advantage of these moments because I know they probably think it's a very friendly environment. So they're sprinting around a lot. They're making a lot of noise. As long as you just crouch or just walk slowly, you can, you know, catch a lot of people off guard. And a lot of the time, you know, you'll get a lot of bodies. And as I stated, it just shakes things up. It makes people stay on their toes. And as many times as I hear people, you know, curse others out and say horrible things about people killing and doing PvP and being obnoxious, you know, those engagements, that emotion you're feeling is what keeps you coming back. And I guarantee a lot of the people who go through those emotions, who get pissed off at that PvP situation, that scenario, instantly load back into another raid and don't hop offline. Because guess what? That is what makes an extraction shooter unique, special, interesting, intriguing. You know, it helps it stand out from just being a PvE style of game. And it gives those extra additional emotions. And this game does it so well because it does feel like a PvE game a lot of the time. It does feel like you are working with everybody else, and you are just all trying to take down Arc, which a lot of extraction shooters do not feel that way at all. So it's very unique here in Arc Raiders, but it still is able to maintain the emotions of all the other extraction shooters, you know, where you never know. Someone might just shoot you, you know, you might go through all that work of taking down a bot, and bam, you're dead because they want all of the loot. You just simply never know, but it's the spice of the overall atmosphere of the game. But ladies and gentlemen, as always, if you enjoyed today's video, leave a like. If you hate it, leave a dislike. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell. Post twice here, once at 8 a.m. Eastern Time and a second time at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And also, if you guys are interested in my live streams, I do stream Monday through Saturday over on Twitch starting at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. If you guys are interested, go link that channel down in the description of this video. But as always, thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you all next one. Peace out.